early on in the recall process, I sent an email to Ursula, and because the people that signed the petition, they knew what was going on, but the rest of the community didn't know. And I said, you need to, you need to send out an email to all the community explaining what's going on, what this recall means. And also, you need to shut down the Facebook page because they're using that as a weapon to promote the trilogytruth.com. And they never did that. Throughout that, I would go in and I'd say, you need to remove this post. It's against the rules, against the rules, against the rules. They used our own Trilogy Facebook page. So I have a real question of how that recall was handled. But there was a lot of questions that were left on the way that was handled. And I've talked to a lot of people since that didn't understand what the recall was. And they said if they had to vote again, they would have never voted for this recall. They were told lies about it. I talked to people. I said, why did you vote for it? We had a couple people that interviewed for the board. And I said, you may be working with me. This is before the recall was final because they were replacing Gary. And I said, why would you, I'm just curious why you voted for the recall because you may be working with me. And they said, because that's my neighbor said it was the best thing to do, or somebody I respected said it was the best thing to do. But there's people here that had no idea other than what a neighbor said or whatever, because they weren't informed about what the recall was about. And it should have been immediate when this thing started. Instead, nothing came out until like 2 weeks when the voting started. This is what's happening.
So I have a friend in here also, and I saw her name on the recall petition. And I said to her, can I ask a question? Why did you sign the recall? And she said, oh, we regret it. It was an awkward situation. We were cornered by our neighbor.
Yep.
But anyway, they would have gotten 20 more signatures from somebody else.
Yeah,
somebody
exactly.
who was maybe uninformed or,
right.
maybe their buddy. Arizona statute, we don't have to have a reason. You can recall.
Exactly, for no reason, exactly.
So when you asked them to turn off the Facebook,
they weren't going to do it. I asked them, I said, we need to stop this. And so every day I'd say, here's another post, here's another post, and here's another post. And it would stay up for 3-4 days. They might take it down, they might not. But there was another post, see trilogytruth.com, and it just kept on and on and on. Without our Facebook page, the Trilogy Truth would not have had legs. And that was their thing. I mean, it was so rotten. It's interesting. First, they accused one of my neighbors for doing there was another Trilogy site. I think it was called Trilogy Facts. And they accused him of doing that site. It was a political hit piece that Greg calls it. Okay. And they accused him. He had absolutely nothing to do with it. And his wife got up in the board meeting in tears. A lot of people didn't understand what she was crying about, but she was so upset. So then Greg accused me of it. There was different posts in there, and they accused, well, it came from a phone number that Mike and Steve know the person. I was very well aware of the site. I asked Greg in that hour meeting we had, I said, because he called it this political hit, I said, Greg, was there anything in there that was not accurate? And he said, no, it was pretty much accurate. There were just some things that were taken out of context. And I said, if I remember right, that website had a way to respond to the administrator with evidence or proof that the accusation or the statement was false. I said, did you submit anything? And he said, no. So in one hand, he said it's this political hit piece, but then he tells me when we meet that, no, it was basically correct, but it was taken out of context.